Hello sparkly people, this is Micaiah Storm, and today we are coming together for an April 2020 card reading. Over here you'll see that we have 5 different decks of cards. In the center, the aura color cards. We're going to be using the aura color cards for the general reading for April. The cards on the outside here are decks in which you can choose from to determine what your personalized reading is for this month. Have a look at them, take them in, and keep in your mind the one that calls to you the most. Number 1, number 2, 3, and 4. Stick around to the end of the video for the personalized reading. But for now, we are jumping straight into the general reading for April 2020. The topic for this month is abundance. Abundance is in the crown position in this spread. Each position in this spread relates to a chakra. We have Spirit asking us to examine our relationship with abundance. Now I'm going to lay out the remainder of the cards for this spread. I'll name which chakra they relate to as I place them down. Aesthetic green, the brow chakra, to do with perception. Home brown in the throat chakra relates to expression. Healing green in the heart chakra relates to relationships. Soul retrieval in the solar plexus chakra relates to sense of self and work. Expression in the sacral relates to childhood, creativity, and intimate connections. Shame in the base. This is connected to the current moment, here and now, and what is actively occurring in third dimensional space. It also indicates the future, what we are moving into. With that said, I'm going to outline the key connections between these colors. The one that stands out to me the most clearly is between abundance and shame. This brings in a sense of duality in this spread. Abundance, scarcity, infinite, finite, expansion, contraction, high self-worth, low self-worth. So this deepens the question that Spirit is asking us in the month of April. Where do we stand on this spectrum? Are we leaning further towards abundance or scarcity? Do we feel like we are enough? Do we feel like we have enough? How is our relationship with our sense of self-worth impacting our lives? Let's see in the remainder of the spread here. I'd like to point out that we have shame which is the densest color here energetically, and abundance, which is, due to its expansiveness, quite a high frequency color. And when I say that in this context, all I mean is that if you were to feel into the energies of abundance and shame, this one here, shame, would feel heavy and abundance would feel lighter, more spacious. Shame, denser. And if you're holding shame in your aura, you're likely to feel, as I mentioned before, contracted, shut in. And that's what I mean by dense. It's in the energy. It's like it's pooling, congesting, which is classic for the shame green color. It can actually relate to congestion. So if you are experiencing congestion in some way at the moment, this is a physical representation of the shame color. Abundance, very different. The abundant state feels expansive. It feels like it's like when you take a deep breath and you look around you and you realize all of the things that you have, how enriched your life is. And you may feel a sense of gratitude over that. Wow, my life is so full. There are so many things that I can do. There's so many options. And shame says, no, I don't have these options. And the reason for that is because shame ultimately feels like they're limited. So we have healing going on here. So many of us are experiencing progression in terms of how we feel about ourselves and how that is impacting the way that we are thinking about what we can have and what we deserve in our lives. I'm deserving, I'm undeserving. So essentially what's going on here is that the healing frequency is tweaking the shame frequency that's going on in our base chakra. So when shame is impacting our base chakra, this has a very tangible impact on the way that we are living. So if we are living in a way that is guided by this frequency, we may be experiencing financial difficulties, we may not have enough food, shelter, there could be issues going on with relationships in our lives where we have felt like we are repetitively in situations where we're not being treated right or fairly, the way that abundance here would say that we deserve to be treated. But ultimately what's going on here is a healing is being triggered, and it's being triggered via this soul retrieval that is happening. So see how these two colors are next to each other here. They're on the left side of the spread. So the soul retrieval is triggering the healing. Now just describe what a soul retrieval is. So essentially the soul retrieval is a process of connecting deeper to oneself and feeling a sense of wholeness. So if you have been feeling incomplete, a little bit lost, confused, uncertain about who you are, essentially, because this is in the solar plexus. This is in relation to the sense of self, just talking about the soul retrieval color. In Australia, in the month of March, there has been much confusion. Now, this is very much in relation to work. So, due to global crisis, a lot of people have lost their jobs or had to make significant changes in the way that they are working. What happens when we go through these kinds of experiences is that we have to re-examine things and think about, okay, well, how am I doing things now? How can I make things work for me? And in fact, through this process of having to re-examine things due to life changes, we go through this process of looking at all of the different parts of us, examining our persona, examining who we are, and saying, okay, well, what kind of work is best for me? How do I like to feel while I'm at work? And this brings back in these two colors here. So do I want to feel expansive, full, infinite while I'm working? Or feeling contracted, finite? So there really is a call going on here to expand in new directions. And to expand in these new directions, the healing has to take place. So imagine the soul retrieval like the opening of the door, an opportunity to shift, to alter something. It's really the opportunity to live life in a way that feels wholesome to you, however that looks. And that's amplified when we have abundance there also. One thing I would love to mention is that when shame is being experienced, particularly when it's in the base chakra, position, life can feel a little bit hazy, almost like things are constantly being taken away from you. There's this feeling of your sense of self being put to the test, and there's often some kind of initiation. So it may be that you're having to try something new that brings up insecurities for you and questions of, can I do this? Is this possible for me? Am I going to be good enough or smart enough at this? And for that reason, the month of April may be a challenging one. Now, it's challenging only because this is a self-evaluation and a showdown between shame and abundance. And by that I mean that these are two polarizing forces that are vying for space in your energetic field. So at times shame may be the one on top, and other times abundance. Or it may not be so clear cut. Could be a tie. Either way, when dealing with the energy of shame, be kind to yourself. Acknowledge those parts of you who feel like they do not have enough, and there may not be enough. They may not feel worthy of things, that they can really be the person that, say, you want to be when you're feeling in the state of abundance. For some people, they may not know what this state of abundance is like to actively experience. If you are one of these individuals, know that there are opportunities presenting themselves to you for you to experience this. When you feel shame, when you feel disgust, when you feel hatred towards oneself, you just feel like you're shit, or you just feel like, oh, I'm just not good. Why am I such a X person? Like, why do I keep doing why? Why? How come life keeps presenting me with these BS situations that I hate? And I have to keep experiencing them. And it can feel like you just, things are just stacked up on top of you. This accumulated feeling, like I mentioned before, the congestion. So it can be a tricky, sticky place to be in. But know that there is a massive opportunity here with these colors to experience this abundance in your life. Despite how many times shame may come in to say, oh, but you don't have enough resources and you don't have enough experience with this, and I don't know if you ever will get enough experience with this because you probably just keep messing up, you know. I'm really going into the kind of language that these colors would use. And when I say that, I really do see these colors as different states of experience. I see them as energetic sheets that we wear in our aura. So they're aura color cards. So essentially when this color is in one's aura, they play through the lens of that particular color. They act through that lens. And so I'm just describing some of the things that can happen when you're playing through the lens of shame. Like, you may act out of authenticity with yourself. In fact, you might dislike yourself so much that things just don't really matter to you anymore. So these colors here, over with the healing and the soul retrieval, are so crucial to what's going on. A big doorway has been opened for you to connect with yourself and really, yes, one, acknowledge and give kindness to these parts of you that feel the shame, and through doing so, heal those parts of you. And not only is it the kindness, but it is also giving a place of safety, a place of protection for the parts of you that feel this way. And this is where we come into these two colors here, aesthetic and home. Home is often seen as a place where we feel safe. An affirmation that you can use for this combination of cards as it relates to home is, I deserve to feel safe. Shame, home. Abundance is the deserving. Shame is the I don't deserve. The combination of abundance and home says, I deserve to feel safe. You can add on that, in my home. I deserve to feel safe in my home. And however you define that, home could be your house. Home could be your workplace. Home could be Earth. in general, how do we become safe? How do we foster this feeling? Well, aesthetic green is a fantastic place to start. Aesthetic green is an organizational color. It represents the frequency of feng shui, of decluttering. And it works in fantastic conjunction with the soul retrieval card, because with this combination, we have the acknowledgement of all of these different parts of us that make up the whole. And then aesthetic, which helps us to organize all of those different parts and find places for them. Now, there's a saying that relates to home brown, and that is a place for everything and everything in its place, which is something that my great-grandmother would say. So everything has its spot, and everything is in the spot where it belongs. So you can see the crossover here. With soul retrieval, we're talking about different parts of the self, different parts of our identity. With home brown, yes, we're looking at the concept of how can we organize all of those different parts of self to feel at home, to feel like we belong when we're alone with ourselves, to feel that we are whole and infinite rather than finite, unworthy, and just plain not enough. A tangible explanation of these two cards here, aesthetic and home, is the organization of physical matter. Cleaning one's house, decluttering one's house, organizing things, having the physical space be clear, and through the physical space being clear, the mental space is also clear. So this is where the feng shui comes in, and particularly in this position here in the third eye, we're looking at how organization and decluttering affects our perception, affects the way that we see things. A connection between these shame and aesthetic colors is that when we are cleaning through our belongings, we often experience difficult feelings. There are memories attached to the things that we own, and therefore there are emotions attached also. We can shift and move through our feelings of shame and come to terms with them through decluttering our physical space. When the space is clear and the mind perception is clear, abundance can dominate over shame as a frequency held in the aura. The decluttering aspect of aesthetic is therapeutic for those who are experiencing challenging emotions such as shame. Also, decluttering the mind space through mindfulness practices and meditation can also lead us to feeling more inclined to clean our physical space. So it works both ways. In April of 2020, there are many people who are in self-isolation, spending time alone, and in a very different environment to where they usually are. People who were once working outside of home are now working in home, and there's been a lot of conversation about this. Some have extra time on their hands due to perhaps unemployment. For these individuals, this may be a fantastic time to examine the flow in their home space. How does it feel when you move from the kitchen to your desk? How does it feel when you move from your desk to the outside? Is there anything that needs to be taken care of in your environment? Are you taking care of yourself? These are the things to think about with this combination of aesthetic and home. When our thoughts are clear, when the filter through which we perceive is crisp, it's so much easier to express ourselves. And this is shown here with expression in the sacral chakra. So for some, this is a time of heightened creativity, enhanced communication with people. You may be sharing more information, articulating your opinion about things. It could be that you're a creative individual who is making things and perhaps collaborating at this time. Expression in the sacral chakra relates to childhood, sexuality and sensuality, and intimate relationships. This may be a time when you are coming even closer together with those who you love. Perhaps expression is something that you have had difficulty with. The combination of shame and expression can articulate strain to do with speaking based on how we feel we are being perceived by other people. But as mentioned before, this is a time where these things are shifting. So there is great healing going on in the realms of shame. And that's not to say that shame won't come up and perhaps impact the way that you're expressing, how clear and organized your thoughts are, or how safe you feel at home, and to express yourself clearly at home, because it may be. There's many possibilities going on here. I'm just throwing out the ones that are coming into my mind based on these cards, in the hopes that you will sync up with what is resonant for you to hear at this time. This position that expression is in can also be the hidden area, in that this is something that has been repressed, that is now coming up to be witnessed. So some individuals, perhaps due to shame or low self-worth in some kind of capacity, are going through a time where they can either choose to speak or not to speak, because we have the polarities of abundance and shame going on. Which energy would you like to be behind the words that you're saying. Abundance or shame. April 2020 is a balancing act between abundance and scarcity. It is an opportunity for great healing and a sense of wholeness to come through the examination of the various aspects of self and where they fit in the picture that is your life. It is a time where we can examine our perspectives on our home and our self-identity. Do we feel comfortable expressing our truth? Are we stepping forward or stepping back? Where are we leaning into our infinite? And where are we leaning into our finite? Expanding or contracting? Now, where it is that we go in April 2020 will be catalytic for what is to come. Stay tuned for the following section where we explore more specifically how the topic of abundance green applies to you in your life. So shall we move on from the general into the personal? I'll see you soon. This is a rapid pick a card reading for the month of April of 2020. We have 4 decks to choose from. Number 1, number 2, 3, and 4. Pick which flower appeals to you the most, and we'll delve straight into looking at how those cards apply to the topic of abundance and everything juicy that we just discussed in the general reading. Now let's have a look at deck number 1 with the Goodina. I see my ego clearly and release it with loving kindness. So Goodina is asking you to really examine, like with the aesthetic green color in the third eye in the general spread, how the shame color in the base chakra is affecting how you're perceiving things. And when you notice how it is, or you may be going about your day-to-day life and you notice particular thoughts coming into your mind, allow yourself to release those thoughts mindfully, with love, with kindness. So if you're familiar with mindfulness exercises, this would be a fantastic time for you to be utilizing those. And if you're not, same goes. Check them out. Have a look into activities that could help you to surrender particular thoughts, to allow them to enter into your mind and then depart, so that you're not held up on anything, any one thing in particular. That is Goodina. Second card is what would be possible for me if I took responsibility for my choices. The abundance color at the top of the spread is a frequency that recognizes that there are many options available. The individuals wearing abundance green think of things in terms of the cup being half full rather than half empty. They have a positive outlook in terms of what it is that they can do, taking advantage of situations and the options that are available to them. This card is asking you to take ownership of what it is that you decide to do. Make a choice and own that choice and all of the reasons why you made it. the last and final card is Spider. And on the Spider card it says, trust the creative spark you're feeling and express it through writing stories that inspire and enlighten. I see a connection between these two cards in that I perceive the spider spirit animal to be the one who oversees all of the connections between things, the way that the web is woven. And the spider has to carefully plot out where each strand on the web is going to go in order for everything to fit together cohesively. Now, this is also the soul retrieval card that we're looking at and the aesthetic card from the main spread. Looking at all the pieces, so all of the different parts of self, all of the different aspects of what it is that you're choosing to do, and have a look at how everything ties in with everything else. Now, this really gives this individual a broad perspective on things, and it asks, and it brings up the question of, what is it that you're wanting to do? Now, this could be, and may very well be, something creative. Are you a writer, an artist, a speaker? What is your creative pathway in life? Because whatever it is, that is the key to how everything is moving forward for you at this time. Utilize this creativity to overcome any challenging emotions that you're feeling, and then share how you're doing that to inspire and uplift others. And I'm gathering a sense here that those who chose this deck are either artistically inclined, or they have a creative way of thinking. Your way of seeing things is super valuable and is something to be celebrated. Now, your showdown between abundance and shame may be to do with whether or not you feel like what it is that you want to share or the way that you do things is worthy. Now, I can see from what Goodina has to say here that it is worthy. The only thing that is getting in your way is that shame that is coming up, and feelings of low self-worth from the past. Remember why it is that you made the decisions and are making the decisions that you're currently choosing. And you may see just how wise of a creature you are. With Spider by your side, helping you to weave the webs of your life, there is so much that is possible. That is deck number 1 with Goodina and the Spider. If you have enjoyed this reading, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll catch you next time for more rapid readings, monthly card videos, and so much more. Thank you very much. This is deck number 2 with the Poached Egg Daisy. The statement Poached Egg Daisy has for you is, I am enough. This statement syncs straight up with the shame in the base chakra and is coming in as a reminder to you of your worthiness. And the question here, what would be possible for me if I didn't always have to be right? There's an aspect of aesthetic green that I didn't mention in the general video. But for you, my friend, it is relevant. It is perfectionism, a state a state of hyper-critique. And with the Poached Egg Daisy's statement of I am enough, this tells me that there's a potential here for you to swing in the direction of being very firm with yourself, being your own worst critic, and being hard when it comes to the things that you want to do, but may not feel like you're good enough to do them. And so you might start to do something, and before you've even really gotten into it, there are these voices that come into your head saying, hey, you can't do that, or why do you think you even have a chance with it? And unless you're doing it perfectly, which is challenging for anyone to do, particularly when they're first starting something, you might not want to do it because you want things to be good, to be the best that they can be. But just because it isn't incredible now doesn't mean that it's not the best you can do. And the best that you can do now may not be incredible, but it's incredible for you. Do you hear what I'm saying here? So your best is good enough. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And if you keep doing your best, it will be incredible. You'll get there. Keep going, keep at it. You don't have to be right or perfect. Sometimes you fixate on the details. You really zone into one aspect and you get really clear on that one aspect. But in doing so, miss out on the bigger picture. This is what the condor is here for with you, is to help you to take a bird's eye view of what it is that you're going through and see not just one aspect of things, but all of it and how it all is working together. Because right now there's the potential that if you make a decision, you're basing your decision on one piece of the puzzle, one piece of the picture, rather than the entire picture. Zoom out. Zoom out with the condor. What's going on here? What's the bigger picture at play? Help me to see. Expand that lens, zoom out, so that then I can make a decision that is more informed than it would otherwise be. And perhaps by zooming out, it may also assist with this going on here about the perfectionism and wanting to be right, and helping you to release that, let go of that, and really acknowledge that in the grander scheme of things, everything is okay. You are enough. You don't have to be right. And everything is how it is. And that's that. Really feeling the sense here of surrender, of letting go, accepting, trusting, having faith that it will work out. Just pull out a little bit. Have a broader look. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have enjoyed this reading, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe. And we'll see you next time for more monthly readings, rapid readings, and a whole lot of cool stuff. See you then. Welcome to deck number 3 with the Sandhill Fuchsia, an extension on the standard reading that we did at the beginning of this video. Let's see what is present for you in the month of April of 2020. Sandhill Fuchsia. I am the creative spark in every particle of life. This is a great example of what I was saying before, that abundance is an expansive feeling. This statement captures that. Every particle of life. I am one with every particle of life. My sense of self is extended to all things. I feel connected to all things. How can one feel lacking if one is everything? I am connected to this light, to this glass, to these cards. They are all extensions of me. And in fact, that is truth in the fact that I've chosen them to be in my reality. Which is also going into the aesthetic green side of things. In that what it is that we choose in our environment is an extension of us. So, the question here for you is, what would be possible for me if I improvise new, more joyful, resourceful ways of being? For some of you, you may be feeling this expansiveness that I described when I said, I am the creative spark in every particle of life. Or this may be a phrase that is valuable for you because you may not believe it. Know it to be true. So here we have a question that is asking you, what would be possible for you if you improvised new, joyful, resourceful ways of being? So this is looking at how are you utilizing your resources? Are you looking at what is around you and examining how you can use that to your advantage to live in a more joyful way? And the last card for you is Goose. Take time to rest and recuperate rather than continuing your striving. I'm seeing an image in my mind here, and it's of you laying out everything on the table. It's like, okay, so I have this much money, I have this much stuff. So it's like you're taking account of all of your money, all of your belongings, all of your gifts, your specialities, the things that make you unique. It's basically your external and internal resources and having a look at where you're at with that and how you can more effectively utilize both external and internal resources to your advantage. Okay, so I have these skills that I haven't utilized in a couple of years, but could actually be really beneficial for this time. Or, wow, I have these belongings that could be really effective for what it is that I'm planning to do. And it's looking at, okay, well, I have that over there, and that can go with this, and maybe with that. And if I combine it all together, then it's actually going to create a reality for me that's, what did we say before? More joyful and more resourceful. So by utilizing those resources, it's bringing about more joy in your life. And really, this is an expansion into the abundant state where there is a recognition that everything that is around you in your environment and everything that is internal to you is an expression of you, and so can be utilized to your aid. But also what's going on here is that this is something that is going to take a little while for you to really have a look at all of this and set out a plan for yourself moving forward. About it's like you're having to stop, review, examine the way that you're doing things, reframe it, change it up to be more effective before moving forward. So this is, for that reason, a slower time for you. Not so much a time for you to jump in and go, yep, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change it like that. And it all happening like this, right? No, this is more organized than that. This is really you taking stock of things, making those plans, and making those plans happen. After a short period of rest, the action phase will come in, and it will be so effective and productive compared to what it is that you have been experiencing. And the abundance that will come about long term is something that is really worth sticking out those slower times for. So just hold in there. If things are slowing down, trust that it's all part of the process for you to really get to where it is that you're wanting to go. It's not that you've stopped or that that things are not going to work out in your favor. It's just that things need to be tweaked a little bit, but know that you have all of the resources to tweak them in the direction of your dreams, of where it is that you're going. I hope you have enjoyed this reading. Please click the thumbs up and the subscribe button. And I'll catch you next time for more rapid readings, monthly card videos, and so much more. Hello, deck number 4. This is the Cassia. I express myself with ease and clarity. This card syncs up with the general reading, expression in the sacral chakra, and aesthetic in the brow. Cassia is helping you to articulate yourself from a clear lens of perception. What it is that you say makes sense and represents who you are. And necessary for that is the letting go of shame. What would be possible for you if you did that? For those who have chosen this combination, you may have experienced difficulty in speaking, and perhaps you may have felt judged, or that your opinion, what it is that you wanted to share, wasn't valuable enough or being seen as valuable by other people. We have the snow leopard as well, which says, take some time out of your usual life and spend it in solitude. This time in solitude is necessary because the feelings of shame that are coming up for you have affected your ability to express. And if you're feeling clouded in your expression, not quite sure how to get those words out and communicate what it is that you really want to say, it's more challenging to speak when you know that it's clouded than it is to stay silent and figure out what it is that you want to say. So take the time, step back, step in, maybe write if you're someone who likes to keep a journal, meditate, get your thoughts into order, identify what it is that really matters to you and how you could communicate that with other people. Notice when you're having a thought about something you would like to say and you feel choked up, you feel suffocated, you feel condensed or contracted when you think about sharing it. Those may be the very things that you most want to say, but are the most worried about saying. Practice saying those things and working through any uncomfortable feelings that come up for you. The more that you practice saying these things in your mind, in your journal, the easier it will become to say these things to another person. Practice makes perfect. And from someone who has had difficulty with this myself, it does get easier. The thoughts of, are they going to misunderstand me? What will they think of me if I say that? But how do I say that, the right way, or the way that offends people the least, or the way that will just come across most effectively? Those thoughts get quieter. They do. Through practice. Work through the thoughts. Teach yourself that things may not turn out as badly as your mind might be saying. I hope this has helped. Give me a thumbs up if it has, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next time for more rapid readings, monthly card videos, and so much more. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.